Today we're going to be working in Adobe Illustrator to complete our laser keychains. So I've already gone to the search menu, input ILL, and we're looking for Adobe Illustrator. Depending on the school year, it might be 24 or 25. Regardless, we open it up. And if you are not prompted to create a new file, we're going to go to New File right away. We must ensure that the unit of measurement is set to millimeters, 100 by 100. This is exactly the square for the piece of wood that goes in the laser. And we hit create. First thing we're going to look at is our workspace. We want to make sure workspace is set to Essentials Classic. A lot of the defaults just goes to Essential. I find Essentials Classic is a lot easier to navigate and see your options. Try not to get overwhelmed. We're not going to be using every single tool here. Don't worry. You can use the regular rectangle tool, and the nice thing is afterwards you can customize the corners, but you can also click and hold down and access all these other shapes. So I'm just going to go to the rounded rectangle tool. And again, you can draw the shape, but I want it to be specific. So if we just click, I'm going to enter 50 millimeters, 30 for height, and you can still customize the radius after. The important thing to understand is right now this would engrave on the surface of the material or the wood. We're going to change what's called our stroke setting at the top here to 0.1. That will ensure that our file is cut out. I'm also going to click and hold down and go to the ellipse tool and just click and input 5 millimeters by 5 millimeters. Drag, drop. Now if it's too close to the edge, it will break very easily on the keychain, so we're going to go a little further in. And our text tool, we're going to click and type. So I'm just going to do van. And what you put on here is up to you. It just depends on your personal preference, and as long as it's school appropriate, you can use any font you want. So let's just say I'm going to stick with this, and you may end up, I could keep that. You may resize it. Ensure you're holding the shift key, otherwise you'll distort the image. And feel free to rotate it if you would like. The next thing I'm going to show you is the shape builder tool. So I'm just going to make a little set of fluffy clouds right now, but what you build with it is up to you. I just want to see you use the shape builder tool. And one of the things you might run into right away is you're like, well, it's just going to engrave a black circle. In Adobe Illustrator or Affinity Designer, we have what's called fill and stroke. So the fill is the inside color and the stroke is the outside color. So right now the stroke is set to none or nothing, and the fill is black. So we can actually just hit flip and we're all good. I'm going to hold the Alt key and then click and drag. Or we can go Control-C, Control-V, which is the shortcut for copy and paste. And if that's too much for you, you can also go Edit, Copy, and then Edit, Paste again. So I'm going to line up our clouds roughly where we want them. And I might even just make another cloud really quick. And I'm going to tweak this so it looks a little better. And you can make them different shapes, sizes. It doesn't have to be a cloud, just make me a shape. Even throw a couple more random ones in here. So I know this looks a little bit bananas right now. We select everything. We go to what's called the shape builder tool, and we'll even kind of preview how to use it when you hover. And just like it showed you, I'm just going to drag it. And don't worry if you miss, you can go back and keep going. Done. Now I'm just going to use this as a guide. I'm going to make it roughly the same size. And again, what text you put in here, whether it's rotated or not, that's up to you. And again, work smarter, not harder. Just duplicate that circle. So the problem right now is it'll engrave van, it'll cut the circle for our keychain ring, but it's not going to cut the cloud. So we need to always make sure what we want cut on the laser is set to 0.1 for stroke. And for the rest of the page, it's going to be up to you what you put on here. So let's say I wanted to do like a Pikachu image. And we go to Tools, Size, Large. Now we can go through the whole process of using color images and converting them to grayscale like you did with Spotify if you've done that already. But I will show you, you can also go color black and white. And this just helps you out. Now you could do this one. I'm going to stick with something a little more simple. I might just do this little Pikachu hat. Perfect. Right click, open image, new tab, because this is the actual large image. The higher quality image, the better. And we're going to talk about dealing with the rectangle in a moment. So I'm going to go right click, copy. Head back to Illustrator. And I'm going to go paste. And it's probably going to be really big. So I'm going to use Control minus or Control plus to zoom in and out. And we're going to scale it down. So right now, if we zoom in, you'll actually see pixels. You remember, we're working in a vector-based program, but we can bring raster images in. So if we didn't want to do what's called image trace right now, I'm just going to show you our basic raster image. I'm going to draw, let's say, a rounded rectangle around Pikachu, or just what I want to keep. And I'm going to select both by drawing a selection box. See, I grabbed something else, so we're going to be careful. Just the two. Right click, make clipping mask. And that actually cuts the rest of it off or crops it. Then I'm going to draw another rectangle around it and make sure, see, it has no fill or stroke. So we're just going to go fill stroke and go fill, none. Make sure it's set to 0.1. And again, the shape, if it's a circle, rectangle, it's up to you right now. And again, just working on reusing stuff that you already have here. I'm going to go Alt-click, drag. And this is going to be interesting. You start to run into, you're like, I just brought a circle over, but it disappeared. Whether you've been in Photoshop or not yet, these are all layers. So it can get complicated. We're like, where does this go? I'm going to show you the next option, which is better after this, but we're going to select this, arrange, send to back if that happens. Now we've got our circle for our keychain. And again, you can play around with the size. So I might select all of this after and just resize it. So there's our little Pikachu keychain. I'm going to actually copy this and show you another thing that we can do though. And I'm going to right click, release clipping mask. You probably won't need to do this. I'm just trying to get the original image that I pasted in. So we're going to go up to image trace when you have it selected. And I'll actually zoom in really close so you'll see what happens. It's going to convert it when we click to a vector image. So you'll see everything's smooth now. It'll engrave a little bit differently, but we can do some kind of interesting things. By hitting expand, you'll actually see all the little nodes, dots, and lines that are available when we pick the direct selection tool. This allows us to select these nodes and dots. So I'm going to select the outside area, delete, delete, highlight anything else you don't want. And now there's literally only this Pikachu. There's nothing behind it. And it's a vector image. So you could just draw another rectangle around it. That's fine. But I'm also going to show you how to go to object, path, offset path. You've got some settings to change here. Joins, round. You'll notice that cleans everything up. And I'm probably going to leave it at around 3-4 millimeters. Let's just do 4. Click OK. If you do not have the Pathfinder option open, we're going to go to Window and make sure Pathfinder is checked off. And you're just going to hit Add. So if you've used Affinity Designer earlier, you've seen that Add option. Unite and Add are the same thing. And it's going to add everything together. And when we move it, this is our outline. Now it just defaulted to white fill, stroke none. We're just going to set fill, none, black. So that's just a quick way what I clicked on here to get black and white. And lots of people are like, well, I want it to be perfect. I want it to be exactly in the middle. So we could move this around. But like a lot of programs, Affinity Designer, Tinkercad, there is an option at the top of the page. So horizontal align center, vertical align center. And I actually think I might have grabbed something else. We're just going to zoom out and make sure. Nope, we're good. But it's lined up perfectly now. and we set the stroke to 0.1. So that'll be cut out. And then we're just going to bring another one of our circles in. And this might end up going over and cutting out. And that's fine. It'll still look good on the keychain. And then you've got room if you want to put another image down here. But otherwise, we're more or less done. When we go File, Save, practicing good file management. So we're going to save to your computer. Find your USB. Find your folder. So let's say Sour Pineapples. And don't leave it as Untitled 1. So I'm going to call this Pikachu Keychains or Laser. Something that you will notice and not Oikachu. And we hit save. And then we're going to head over to the laser engraver and cut these out. That's it.